You know, I was stunned recently when, at a press conference at the White House, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was asked how he was going to handle the transition to the new administration of President-elect Joe Biden. And he said, actually, he would be making a smooth transition into a second Trump administration. It was staggering, and three things were of interest. The casualness with which he said this. Secondly, the response of the audience, which at first was aghast. And thirdly, the response of wider commentators to this event. The response of the wider commentators reminded me of the way people behave when they see a very badly behaved child throwing a tantrum in a supermarket and chucking themselves on the floor. They look, they roll their eyes, they tut-tut in their heads, they wonder what on earth must the parents be on to have raised such effectively a little monster, and move on. And that's exactly what wider commentators sounded like, and why. Trump didn't just start when he lost these elections. Trump is a machine that's been moving for 200 years and more, because 71 million people voted for Trump, and Biden only got 4 and a bit million more. These are the two biggest electoral vote castings, I think, ever in American history. But the key point is that enough Americans stand behind Trump to make the child in the supermarket that's throwing a tantrum a child you've got to pay attention to. He's not a child you can tut away. But why are people trying to tut the most amazing humiliation of America, her Constitution, her way of life, and her people? How can you just tut this away? Trump is best understood as a virus that's taking advantage of a pre-existing condition. Take the coronavirus. If you have underlying comorbidities, it's 10 times more lethal. Things like diabetes, a reduced or compromised immune system, other conditions, age, just lack of vitamins, lack of a solid diet, fatigue, reduced kind of mental health. All of these things are pre-existing conditions which the virus can weaponize to your cost and possibly your own morbidity. And the pre-existing condition that exists in America that Trump has taken advantage of is racism. The truth is, America was built on the back of slavery. Without the 250 years of free labor that the United States was able to garner through the slave trade and the employment of slaves without cost to the slave owners, America would never, ever have reached the level of wealth it was able to garner. Not only that, the privations of human beings being used as chattels without any rights. Some said they didn't have a soul. They could be whipped, lynched, burned, hunted down, abused, raped, sold without a by your leave. And as times have gone by, and as slowly the histories become unearthed, I can understand that anybody who is the beneficiary of such a system will be carrying a burden of guilt and shame which is as big as Mount Everest. That is the pre-existing condition that America carries, which Trump is taking advantage of. Because America has never significantly, substantially, and properly acknowledged its past, the racism and the pain caused to its own citizens now, nor made restitution for those things. Whenever a racist shows up, America can't robustly refute that racist. And Trump is a racist. It's well known. His whole main line of attack against the previous incumbent before him was that he wasn't even a proper American. Well, Barack Obama is as American as apple pie, better educated than Trump, by the accounts of his own society, far more talented in oratory, in intellect, in pure, simple human charm. Obama showed a clean pair of heels to President Donald Trump. But Trump, clinging on to this shibboleth of white supremacy, which he knows and believes and has been demonstrated to exist deep within the veins of the United States of America, has been able to divide the country into those who want to cling onto the privileges, the white privileges that a racist society would confer, and those who feel as if those days have gone, and there lies the divide in American society. But whether you're a racist or an anti-racist, the pre-existing condition in America is that it has never squarely faced its racist past, its racist present, nor made restitution for either of those things. That is why, still to this day, if you're a black American and you go out at night on the street on your own, you take your life into your own hands, because the very agencies that are supposed to protect your life are just as toxic and lethal to you as other self-appointed other actual criminals. So until this issue is resolved, America will never be able to stand up robustly to Trump. America will always have to tut-tut and bite its tongue. And this virus will run riot through its society. Now, some are framing Trump as a far-rightist or as a populist, as this and that. All of those things may be true. But underneath and beneath all of that, Trump derives his power from dividing his country along the lines of race. The ironic thing is, the biggest internal conflict in America's history before that, the Civil War, was also dividing the country along the lines of race. At first, Lincoln made the Civil War a war of union. He wanted the rebel states to come back and join the Union. He wanted to force them to join the Union. And he was losing the war while he had that philosophy. It was when he made the Civil War a war of liberation, a war of emancipation for the slaves, that he garnered the world's support and found the wherewithal to prevail over the Southern rebels. So where is this problem and how is this problem going to be solved? In my humble opinion, it requires leadership. We haven't got it yet from Biden. Biden still retains the quiet, shy, shamed, uh, we know what our past was like, but let's just kind of sweep it under the carpet and let's not go on it. Let's talk about it euphemistically and so on. In fact, what Biden and the rest of America is seeking to do is to go forward into their future, pretending their past doesn't exist. And that's why they don't have a solid bedrock of realism to stand on. And that precisely is why when they confront a man like Trump, they will sink into the quagmire. This thing requires leadership. I don't know where it's going to come from. Is it going to be the church? I don't know. Is it going to be from the Trump's own party? Very, very unlikely. They have shown themselves to be completely spineless in the face of the egregious behavior of their leader. Is it going to come from the wider society? I'm not sure their culture is yet equipped. I'm not sure the white culture is yet equipped to face itself honestly on the matter of race. If we come over here to the United Kingdom, we have exactly the same problems. The difference between America and Britain is we don't have guns. And so everything is dialed down to a matter of degree. But here in Britain, the greatest colonial power in the last, 1,000 years perhaps? Racism and the theory of race is what led the empire. Britain itself is yet to confront its past on race and so cannot face its future on race, and so has to make all kinds of euphemistic attempts to solve a problem which is a pre-existing condition, which every difficulty that comes along takes advantage of. COVID has taken advantage of it because the huge mortality rates amongst minority ethnics in the United Kingdom when COVID came in just exposed the underlying economic and social trends which are directly attributable not to any inherent physical weakness in people of minority ethnic background, but in the systemized racism which ensures that economic advantage, opportunity, educational advantage, opportunity, judicial advantage, opportunity are all color coded in the United Kingdom. Nobody can offer them leadership on that. Nobody's talking about it. You know this because if, for example, this video will not be commented on by white people, the only white people who would comment on it would be the far right, the trolls, and the racists. But the decent middle ground of the United Kingdom, the place from which I draw my friends, they'll pretend this video doesn't exist. They'll look at it and they'll scoot quietly on. Why? Because they are not yet ready to confront the cancer of racism within their society and likely within themselves as individuals as well. So I'm hoping that somebody in white society can come forward and provide leadership in this issue. It is crucial. I believe your future and the future of the world depends on the Western civilizations, the generally white cultures of this world, facing their racist attitudes and dealing with them, because the majority of the world is not white. And it doesn't matter how much money or military might you have, increasingly as the world goes forward, issues around justice and equity are beginning to completely trump issues around wealth and power and the vulgarities that flow from all of those things. I hope you find the leadership. I hope we find the leadership that's required to make people grasp the nettle and face themselves in the mirror on race. There we are.